Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, the USO, the UUP, and the GLD. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly timeframes. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. So let's get right to this chart. It's the daily on the SPY, 56 million on a day. Another light volume day. Just light volume float up and into pretty good resistance with the 20 MA, the 618. We also ran into the, if you look on the 60-minute, we hit the 200 MA here. We're chopping around, you know, a more short term, chopping around. Not a bad pattern. I'd like to see this one a little bit down and then up, but floating up with the light volume the last couple days, so you got to respect it. But again, right to the 618 and the 200 on there. And if you go to the daily resistance, you're at the 20 MA. So you also have the top of this red bar and the 237.49 Fibonacci, which is the 750. So you have a little bit more resistance than the trend line and so on and so forth. If you are bullish on this, you need to get above this, the all-time high, 240. Then I'm thinking 242, 243 area. If it goes through that, 252.44. You know, we talk about those two areas. If it doesn't, if you're more bearish, you need to go right back down, crack this low, crack the trend line, and then most likely, you know, you got a couple gaps to fill, but if the markets go, we're due for a correction, guys. You know I've been saying that for a while. We got slight pullbacks, but a lot of stocks that we're in a lot of shorts right now, so I'm hoping for a nice pullback because that will pull down the rest of the markets with it. So again, bearish, you get above this, below this pivot, and then take it from there. Right now, not a bad bearish pattern. A little bit bullish, a little bit bearish. You know, it's a 50-50 shot. We'll see where it goes tomorrow on the last day of the quarter. A little bit of window dressing, all that good stuff. All the stocks are running right now. It's pretty incredible. So let's go to the IWM. On the light volume, though, guys, stocks can run. So IWM, again, nice retrace. We talked about this red bar. Retraces back up to the top. Looks like it's doing exactly that. But we're back into this trend line here. So that's holding it back a little bit. We could raise this a little tiny bit here. I'm going to go into a little bit of these tops and then a little bit on this candle. But we're right into that 750 retrace. We are back above the moving averages. So grandma, you know, she went at it 4 days straight up, get it through resistance. Let's see if we have another just no volume kind of a float, you know, grind up basically, and up to this red bar. If it gets above there, all the bulls, you know, we have a good shot getting back here to 140.86. If it gets above that area, then, you know, you're talking maybe 143 to 145, maybe higher, but we have to get through this first. Let's see how it sets up, or if it goes straight into it, or does it set up, you know, in a consolidation, building pressure to pop through. So we're going to keep an eye on this close tomorrow. The weekly close is pretty important as well on a lot of these stocks, so we'll look at that. But right now, nothing wrong. Got it back above, light volume. The same old stuff, guys. Buy the dip. It's pretty incredible. It's just incredible. But then we got a new high on the Qs, but it pulled back. So we had the old high around 132.45, cracked through, pretty much closed. Yeah, look at that, a little bit above it. So that's a little bit bullish, guys, on the daily. I want to see the weekly close on this. But again, I was looking for more just chopping underneath. They popped it up, retraced it back up to the high. Let's see if it can continue up. If it does, the bulls, you guys got to get above this area and confirm, you know, close, and then keep going. And then hopefully the following week we confirm. We got to look at the weekly on this. The daily, you know, we could do a little more short term. I'd rather go on the weekly. That's how I'm playing these charts here, because I don't want to stop out and then this thing comes back in and then just, you know, just we could sitting there watching it go down. Then we'll have to wait to go long again. But if you're short the Qs like we are, then let's see if this can go through double top, get above in here. If we have to, we'll add a little bit more up here. But we'll do it with shares. We're not doing options on this. If you want to do options, it's up to you. Just figure out, you know, give yourself enough time for these things to pull back, for we could go sideways for another 2-3 months for all I know. But again, if you're in shares, this is where you start to add, and then hopefully we get a nice pullback on this. Again, we'll look at the weekly on the Qs and all the other indexes, and we'll, you know, try to figure out where these things are going. The Dow again, see, I like this. You know, we had a little dip, pop back up, but this isn't bad. But, you know, still a little bit bearish, below the 20 MA, starting to curl in. Let's see what happens with that. But this one, you know, just can't get anything going. And then the Qs, too, just couldn't get anything going today, too. So, well, that was probably because the IBB was down a little bit. And the SPY up 75 cents, not bad. The Dow Jones Transfers, or the IYT, were up. But not a great, you know, not a bad showing all the way across the board. But daily, you know, again, bullish. You need to get above these areas of resistance, all-time high, and then this thing can continue up to 15, maybe even 220 for all you know. I think that would be Dow 22,000. I wouldn't rule out anything at this point, guys. With the light volume, they can easily push this thing back up. If you're bearish and this pattern plays out here, you'll test this area down here with the 50 and this lower trend line. And if that cracks, you got some gaps to fill, but ultimately I think you'll be down here at the 190 area. About a $15 drop, maybe more, maybe less. But at this point, I wouldn't rule out, double bottom. You have a gap fill, couple other areas of support. But if this pattern starts to play out, comes in, then we'll wait for another pattern to see if it can lead us down here. Again, got to get above these if you're bullish to 1159. Continue up with some volume. If you're bearish, you need to crack below this trend line, and then possibly set up and then come back in. I mean, we can fall right direct down a double bottom setup and then back to the 200 MA. One day at a time, guys. Each and every day we get a piece of the puzzle, like I always say, and let's try to put them together and see where this markets are going. The IYT right back up into this trend line. If this thing's strong, this thing needs to blast through here. Maybe they gap this thing up and keep it going tomorrow into the 50 MA. And these high pivots, we're going to keep a close eye on this one. We did add some short on this one today. I like the fact that it retraced, but it doesn't mean it can't come back into this area or maybe even double top. So we're going really slow on this one to start adding because we don't want to miss it if it starts to drop. I'd rather be in a small position than no position. But if it goes up, we have room to add. Coming up here, if you're a bull, you need to get above the moving averages, this pivot. And then, then this gap fill right here around 170, even number, then you'll go for the all-time high. If it rips through there, 180, in that area somewhere, but one day at a time. Let's see what kind of a pattern develops. Or do we just pop here and then come right back in? We'll keep a close eye on this one. USO has been railing. A little bit of lip service out there with all the talking heads. Oil's on a rally. Here we go. This is it. You got to get in. So at least they're telling people down here. They're not telling them to buy up here, which I gotta give them a little credit. But you got a couple days up, and these guys are already getting out of control. For me, still got to stay above the 20. Got to fill the gap. Got to get above these areas here. 618 gap window, gap fill. A lot of resistance going up. A lot of support coming down. Again, little choppy, sloppy, downward, sideways pattern. We'll see if this thing starts to channel. It's still a little early to say, or does it come right back in, get back below the 20 and go down. So right now, this would have been the area down here, gap fill to buy. I was waiting a little bit lower, possibly, never made it, went right up. So at this point, I'm looking possibly to add more shorts. I'm not chasing this thing up after almost $1 move on a $10 stock, which almost 10% right in that area. So I can't do anything with this. We are short quarter position of SCO long. So right now we're getting a little bit beat up on those. But you know what? When this thing fell, we covered our position down in here. Let this thing go up and I'll reshort it again if it goes up. But right now, talking head lip service can possibly drive this up a little higher. Let's look at let's look at the weekly tomorrow. Then we'll know where it's closing at. So the USO, then the UUP. Again, UUP ripping heads off. We talked about this area. Double bottom gap fill, at the 25.59, it filled the gap. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, it did make it down to this lower pivot. Kind of filled the gap if that was a gap to fill. Popped right back up, 4-day rally. This was going up, took gold down, which we'll go to next. But we're coming into some good resistance here up in the charts. If this thing pulls through here and goes in and competes with this red bar here, if this thing gets above, say, 26.27, you're probably going here. Then next thing you know, you'll be at 26.87. And I think there's 27.21. And then there's a spot higher. But let's, one day at a time, let's get above the moving averages, the 618, into this area. And then we'll talk to see if this thing goes higher. Again, a little oversold. Brought it right back up, filled the gap. Had to fill this gap sooner or later. Definitely did. Boom, right back up. Let's see how high this thing can go. Or does it hit this area of resistance and come right back in? UUP a little bit strong right now. But again, slowly making higher lows. This is a big area here. If it gets above this, then definitely we're popping up here. But again, we got to get above all this resistance. If you're bearish on the dollar, you don't want to get above this or the 618. You just wanted to hit this, reject, come right back down. Still have the 200. Still have this trend line. I thought for sure 25, 20, but someone out there, grandma, wants it a little bit higher here. Let's do a little more testing, see what's going on. But now the dollar goes up and the oil's going up. Oil needs to be low. It's not in her plan, guys. And the GLD, we got above the moving averages. Trying to get above this trend line. We came down today, so let's see if we get closed down here. If we do that, still bullish. We still have the 382 coming down. We still have support here, support on the trend line. So let's see what happens. Right now, we're just kind of chopping around. below this big resistance on here, and big resistance on the weekly too. The weekly had the 200 MA and the 50 MA, so we popped through that, came right back in, boom, we're back below the 200, but again, chopping and slopping. Even if you take this move up and choppy sloppy, that could possibly move up, or you can count the inside bar bearish pattern. As long as you stay below this bar, below this high pivot, this thing could chop around and then the next wave down. So got to keep an eye on it. For me, we're still long, we're still in great shape. If it pops up into here, we'll probably take half off. It goes up into 130 area, we'll take the remainder off. We've been in at about 110 right in that area, so that would be a hell of a trade if we could get to 130. So, definitely would be out, maybe even short it, depending how, how it looks like it's going to double top. Let's go into Jnug real quick. That was one people were asking about today. We went over in our live session, guys. We went over a lot of stuff today, so go watch that a little bit, fast forward it, whatever you got to do, get to certain areas. But we had a great day on that. Jnug, though, we talked about this, got back below the 20. We need to stay above here, but it's up and sideways. This is not a bad bullish pattern here. I still, in fact, still believe that this is down sideways bearish manner, but this little bullish manner could push us up a little high, 859, maybe back to 10 buck area. We're still being this inside bar bearish planner or plan. You know what? It's just one of those things, guys. We got to wait for the pattern, and then once this thing pops up, let's see what happens up here. If it does, if this starts to break down below these areas here, you get below the 526, then we're probably going down to fill this gap and then double bottom around 383. So I don't have a position in Jnug. I know a lot of people do, but just watch for this. Needs to get back above here. Good pattern for a bullish pop, but still a little bit bearish overall. See if it get back into this area. Again, if it gets lower, then I'll be a buyer around, where was that level? 380, 383, $4. I'll even step up on this one, even though I really don't like this as a trading vehicle. Kind of fades, kind of does its own thing, unless gold's really ripping. But this, this is telling me higher prices, possibly. So, inside bar bearish or bullish pattern coming into some support. Markets, still dollar comes in, whatever. There's still manipulation coming out there, guys. So you got to keep one eye on that stuff and the politics and Trump and all that good stuff. So again, if you're not a membership to my website, StockBookie.com, go there. It's free. You get more videos like this, live streaming action, swing trades that we're doing, email alerts, trade ideas, education, a little bit of everything. We're looking to do some stuff in the future too, bring some people on, talk about what their plan is, with options or how they're trading or what they like to do, different strategies. Just doing a whole mix, guys. But again, I really appreciate you guys signing up, following me on StockTwits, Twitter, and all that stuff. That's been really fun. But eventually, everything's going to be on StockBookie.com. So thanks again, everybody. Hope you're having a great evening. God bless. See you on the charts.